I don't know about you, but I love saving time and not putting out too much effort. And that's why I like the automatic selection tools in Photoshop. I already showed you Select Subject and the Object Selection tool, which both do a lot of the work for you. Let me show you a couple other tools that do that. One is the Quick Selection tool. That's located in the same place as the Object Selection tool. So press and hold on that tool slot and then select the Quick Selection tool. I'd like to select all of these women in the foreground. To do that with this tool, all I have to do is start dragging over them. And the tool jumps out ahead of me, looking for edges that differ in tone and contrast from one another. If I release my mouse, notice that the tool automatically changes to an Add to Selection icon. I'll make that tool bigger so you can see that there's a little plus inside of there. So that saves me a step. Now if I want to keep going and add to this selection, all I have to do is continue to drag over these areas that aren't selected yet. And over here as well. And if I'm coming into a smaller area, maybe up here, I'll make my brush tip smaller. The way I'll do that is to press the left bracket key on my keyboard. That's near the P key on most North American keyboards. And if you don't have a North American keyboard, you can make your brush tip smaller by coming up here to the options bar, clicking this option, the brush picker option, and then moving the size slider to the left manually. So let me include that little bit at the top of this scarf. And I see here a little bit that I need to subtract from the selection. So I'm going to hold down the Option key on the Mac, the Alt key on Windows, and run this tool over that area. And pretty quickly it's gone. And I'll do the same over here as well. And notice that when I release my finger from the mouse, the tool goes back to the Add to Selection mode. So I save a little time there, just bringing in that last little bit. And there is my selection. So that's the Quick Selection tool. It works really well where you have edges that differ in color or tone from what's around them. So now that we have this selection, let's do something with it. I'm going to cut out that background. And to do that, I'm going to use a technique we'll go into in more detail later in the compositing chapter, but that is to click the Add Layer Mask icon. And that removes the original background, and it's allowing us to see down through to what's on the background below. And as you can see, that very quick selection did a good job in this image. Now let's switch to another photo. And here, what I'd really like to do is change the red throughout that lighthouse to a different color. So how can I select different areas of the same color? Well, the answer is to use the Magic Wand tool, which is located in the same place as the Quick Selection tool. So I'll click and hold on the Quick Selection tool, and from the flyout menu, I'll choose the Magic Wand tool. With the Magic Wand, I'm going to click anywhere on the red in this lifeguard station. And as you can see, it just selected a small bit of the red. One reason for that is that by default, this option, contiguous, is checked. And that means that the tool will only select red pixels that are next to one another in the image. So I'm going to uncheck contiguous and try that again. Let's try a different red area right next to that. And that does a better job, as you can see. But it's still not selecting all of the red. So what can I do? Well, let's start again. I'm going to press Command-Z on the Mac or Control-Z on Windows a couple of times, and then I'm going to go up to the options and go to the option called Tolerance. This option determines the sensitivity of the Magic Wand tool. So I'm going to make it a lot bigger. Let's just take it all the way up to 100. One of the challenges is that it's always a guess as to what number to use here, but if you experiment a little, you'll often come up with a number that works. So now I'm going to click again on red. And that did a much better job. What the Magic Wand tool is doing is looking for other areas of similar color and including those in the selection. Now, normally I would take a little more time subtracting from and adding to the selection, but I think this works fine for this tutorial. Before I fill this area with color, I'll be sure to look around and notice that there are other things selected too, like this dune buggy over here. So for that, I'm going to get another tool, the lasso tool, from the toolbar. I'll set it to subtract from selection, and then I'm just going to drag a loose lasso around all these areas that I didn't mean to select over here on the beach and the red dune buggy. And now I'm ready to do something with this selection. I'm going to fill it with a color. I'll do it a different way this time by clicking the Create New Adjustment Layer icon and choosing Hue Saturation. And then I'll drag the hue slider right or left to find a color that I like. And you can play with that to get just the color you like too. And we'll be talking more about making adjustments with adjustment layers later in the course as well. So those are a couple other automatic selection tools that you can use as you're learning Photoshop.